Society?
Strangers. Strangers in society.
Strangers on the internet?
The secret.
Strangers.
Society, oh, welcome, stranger.
Secret society. Welcome to the secret society.
Strangers?
Welcome back to the Secret Society of Strangers podcast. I'm Lee here, as always, with Josh and Jen.
What it do?
Greetings.
So, greetings. That's a good one for
Greetings.
April.
Yeah.
I thought Earthlings was too far, so I was just going to say greetings.
Just greetings.
Greetings, Earthlings.
Greetings.
All right. In tonight's episode, we are diving into one of the most astonishing and controversial UFO encounters on record. So on September 16th, 1994, during recess in the midday at the Ariel Primary School in Ruwa, Zimbabwe, 62 students witnessed an extraordinary event. They reported seeing a shiny silver disc-shaped craft land right outside their playground. And out of that craft came some small humanoid beings in tight black clothing. And they each described them moving differently, but all described them moving in an odd way. This whole encounter lasts about 15 minutes, and after this, the kids run back into the school and tell the teachers, who are very dismissive at first. They send everybody home at the end of the day, and the kids then start reciting this story to their parents, and the parents start communicating to each other and start realizing that these stories are oddly similar, oddly detailed, and like eerie. So the next day in school, a proper investigation starts, and these kids are sat down and asked what they saw on that day.
Oh man, yeah, this one's got so much stuff added to it. Like, there's just so many things in this one.
Yes.
It's
Quite a bit.
Another really well documented
Case.
instance, case, encounter, all of the above.
It's also crazy because like usually they only last for like a couple of seconds or like a minute or two, but like this one lasted for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, and the people and the witnesses were conscious that entire 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's like nobody was missing time. Nobody they all had the same story essentially.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So before we start, you guys got to do it for us. Subscribe to the YouTube if you're watching. If you're listening on Spotify or on Apple, send us a comment, hit the like button, follow us, and don't forget to
hit that notification bell.
Ding, ding, ding.
And if you want to be a guest, email us at SSOSpodcast@gmail.com. Or if you just want to talk or have any topic ideas, let us know.
Or send us pictures of your animals.
Yeah, do that in the comments.
Always appreciated.
Yeah. All right, Jen. So you were unfamiliar with this case until we brought it to your attention. So I'm very interested to see from like a newcomer's eyes, like what your perspective is on this case.
So the first thing, like you said in the introduction, that it was sort of controversial, and that was as I was listening, watching documentaries, watching different videos, the interviews with the children, just different things. I was like, this has got to be one of the least controversial for me. As far as evidence wise, or things just not making sense, or, well, I mean, of course it didn't make sense, but the way that even the kids as adults, as they've grown into adulthood, stories haven't changed. The sheer number of kids, it was a whole thing that I find very, very fascinating and ultra creepy. So, like Lee said, the guys are going to help me out because, I am a newbie at this. And so, but I'll do some of the presenting here. So, like Lee said, 62 pupils ranging in age from 6 to 12 which is a really good age. I thought, that's
Hmm.
pretty healthy age range, especially when you got to the, 11, 12-year-olds or 10 and
Yeah.
up.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
was
these
very.
kids remember stuff now, and
Hmm.
Yes. And yeah. So, I mean, I can just imagine kind of, just being out for recess. And I know that they, especially one interview I watched, she's being interviewed now as an adult, but, saying they were ultra excited because, the reason there were no adults out there with them at recess to witness this event, the reason it was only primarily children. They were having like a staff meeting or some sort of meeting, and
yeah,
so the kids were on their own, and they also got an extended recess at this point. So
man,
things sort
it was a
of.
different time.
I know.
Eh,
It's just
oh
like
yeah,
bunch of
they're
kids,
my
the
80s kids.
'90s.
We know this, we feel this so hard that
I
this is
miss
Like
totally
recess so
plausible,
much.
and
it's
just
they.
totally plausible the adults would do this
Oh
during this
yeah,
time. I mean,
Yeah.
it
yeah,
was just that mindset of like, oh, they're outside, they can't hurt
they're
themselves,
they're fine.
and if they do, they're outside.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. And I mean, I think even to the point when, they were, originally when kids do start screaming, they're initially still ignored
And what's
because.
crazy, one of the interviews, yeah, with one of the older, when she's older, she talks about how like it was a great experience to go to this school,
Mhm.
but she talks about it being next to like game land, like wild game
Hmm.
land in
Yes.
Africa.
Because they're in the what, the
and,
That just blows my
savannah.
mind.
Yeah,
and
the
it's just
savannah
62
region.
kids, yeah,
Hmm.
just outside, just hyena and lion prey, just prancing around.
Yeah.
Yeah. No adult supervision.
Nope.
Just easy
No
pickings
worries.
for a
Yeah,
lion or
no
something.
worries to be had for the adults.
Some
Yeah,
real Hakuna Matata.
I
No
miss those
worries.
miss those days of Survivor. But yeah, so so they're out there, they're near the swing sets and the playground equipment, whatever, and suddenly several of the kids suddenly become very aware of an odd sound and then some movement from the bush that's just beyond the play area. Some of them said that it was a buzzing sound like bees or that electricity buzz, especially
Mm.
I'm thinking when you're near those like transformers or something.
It's just
Mhm.
like
You
that
just feel like
hum, like,
they're emitting cancer like as you drive by, or just
Just
that's just
the
me. That was an
5G is gonna
intrusive
get you.
thought. Yeah, but then another child said it sounded to them like someone blowing a flute in the distance. So, not everybody, that was another thing that I loved. The kids didn't all have throughout this entire encounter a just cookie cutter carbon copy version of what had happened, what they had seen, but there
Mhm.
was certainly enough similarity to, corroborate the entire thing and not make it like 62 children got together to form the longest hoax ever.
Like, could you even imagine? Like, you couldn't even get
I
kids from,
could
like,
not.
the ages of 6 to 12 to, like,
No,
stay on the
God,
same page for
no.
the
I can
long con.
already. I can
Well,
name Jeremy at our school would have blown it in the first 10 seconds. There'd have been no way. And
oh,
there's a
yeah,
Jeremy everywhere,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Actually, there's a Jeremy in this story. In this story,
Oh,
we will get to it later on. There's a Jeremy. It's like a reverse Jeremy almost, though. So we'll watch. Not really,
Ooh.
but watch. Well, I mean, we'll see.
okay.
Listen, whatever you're doing.
Those.
Yeah.
However
Yeah,
you're
any of
consuming
that.
this podcast,
Exactly. We love you
Just
all of
stay
regardless.
them.
tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. So when they look towards this phenomenon, they spot a flash of silver in the sky. They describe it, it's a bright metallic object that is just zooming over the treetops. And then they see it descend and land in the bush just beyond their playground there. So a brave group of kids, we can all picture who this would have been to. The group of 20 to 30 kids run towards the edge of the schoolyard to get a better look. And, at this point, they're describing they think maybe it's an airplane of some kind. They're not, they just want to see. They're curious. But one girl named Candace explains how they tried to make sense of it at first. And she says, "We thought it was just a house with glass reflecting in the sun, And then we thought, well, no, it can't be that because there's no houses up there on the rocks. So they're even doing what we would do in my mind as adults. If I see
Mhm.
something like that, my first thought, well, I don't know, maybe now since joining this podcast, I might have been like, finally, I beat Lee. But I'm kidding. But more than likely, I'm gonna think, something more
You're gonna start rationalizing it.
mundane. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I love, that the kids they're doing the exact same thing. But then as the students get closer, some of which getting within 15 to 30 feet of the fence line, they see it is in fact a disc shaped craft about the size of a small car, and it is hovering just above the ground or possibly resting very lightly on it. As if that's not strange enough, the kids really get the shock of their little lives when they see occupants come out of this craft. Now, I can't imagine as an adult. I don't know. I feel like I'd have been more brave as a kid, kind of like how kids will see spirits more
Oh yeah.
than,
Oh
we
yeah.
will as adults and things. So I'm not sure, I think it would probably have been less traumatizing then. But
But no, I'm just like,
yeah,
I
I'd be like,
want no part of that.
"You should not be here.
I
Where are
got
you
bills
go?"
due tomorrow. Like I can't start messing around with you guys. Sorry.
I think I
Can't be
left the
Yeah,
strapped
oven
into a
on.
skeleton.
yeah.
I seen Mars Attacks. I'm good.
Oh god, I love that movie.
That's a
But I
good
do
one too.
love that these beings were actually dressed. They're not, rolling up naked like they normally are out of respect to
True.
landing on a playground.
Kids.
The kids.
They
That's
were like,
right.
Gary, come on, come on. We're rolling up our kids this time.
Can't
At
do
least
the
put our pants.
usual.
Yeah.
Can't do the usual. We can
The
only
PG
scare a
encounter.
little bit,
The
not all the way. Yeah. So
close encounter
according
of the PG kind.
Thought you were gonna say something else. According to multiple kids, one or two small figures came out of the craft. They described them as being pretty short, but it would have been, roughly, their size. So kid size, 3 to 4 feet tall. However, long, slender arms and legs, dressed, like I said, in their shiny black, tight fitting dark suits. I know one as an adult, she described it the best she could think of was like as a scuba
Mm.
suit, which kind of helped me, gave me a good picture. So their skin very, very pale, almost white, and their heads were oversized, and they had the huge black eyes that wrapped around to the sides of their face.
Eyes. Always the
It's
eyes.
yeah, I could get
Big
behind.
eyes.
Yeah, and then yeah, that gets creepy. I think
I
for
think
everyone.
for me, I think it's the combination of like the big eyes and then the very tiny, tiny nose, or just the
Mm,
no nose at all. It's just a
right.
combo of both.
Yeah.
Big dead eye look. I can't.
Yeah, no expression.
Yeah.
But then if you see like an iris or anything underneath it, then it's just 10
That's
times more
creepy. Yeah.
terrifying.
At
Right. So
least
what do
these
we
are all like
want?
kickable. Like these are
The
all like
kickable-
I could like get a few out of the way before they like took me over.
Oh, so if
They're
if you were in a
fun
field,
size.
how
You could
many
give me the kindergartners.
how many tiny grays do you think you could take on?
Depends on if they're using like their telepathy and stuff. If it's just a
Ooh,
I was
that's
going
physical
to
true.
fight,
say,
if it's just a physical fight, I might be good for a while. Like I'm just gonna be palming them and throwing them, swinging them by their hands, and strangly arms
Kicking
and
their
shit.
big heads. I would
hope
just
they're
take
not
2 of them and
listening.
just use them as nunchucks.
Yeah, Jen's got a point.
Lee's
They're like,
going to get a
oh
special
yeah, you wanted to
probing if
meet me,
they're listening.
motherfucker.
I know, right? They're like,
Come
"Pull
see
up.
me.
Square up,
Come see
son."
me.
Intergalactic
So I
gangbanging.
love, so I love this one kid. So one child thought that the figure's long, straight black hair and complexion resembled Michael Jackson.
Maybe he was just shooting his new music video in Africa, man.
Right.
You
It's
know,
interesting though because,
you
like you
might be
said,
on
He
it.
was going through his UNITY phase.
they all have these different interpretations, and like when they're in a group telling the story, they're like correcting each other and like clarifying each other's
Mm,
statements and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, it's weird,
yeah,
but
it's
I'd
very
freak out. I think
interesting.
more if I saw a little Michael Jackson come out of
That would
a
be
fucking
so terrifying.
like a 3 foot Michael Jackson.
Oh
I
God,
want no part of that.
No,
no,
absolutely not. No.
definitely not. Actually, it's more horrifying, way more horrifying than beings. Any being,
Exactly, yeah.
even the ones you showed me a few episodes ago. So, like we had said before, we're all going to try and draw on some sort of rational, thing, even if, even as kids. So, to some of the African students, these beings fit the bill for them as evil goblins, or, and forgive us, I don't know how to pronounce it, or Tokolosh from local folklore, and they burst into tears, fearing they might be attacked or even eaten, which would go along with their lore of these evil goblins. Older kids try to reassure the younger ones, but they're certainly also frightened. And then the kids start to describe some of the beings' behavior. So, behaviors. They say that one figure remained standing atop the craft while another moved towards the children, either walking or running along the scrubby area at the edge of the schoolyard. The gait was unusual. Several students described it as moving in slow motion, almost as if time was dilating, which is interesting, to say the least. That's a word.
So described like
Hmm.
it's almost like glitchy. They watch it
Yeah.
like come towards them, it kind of like fades out and then like is further closer to them and then fades out and then like so I have a clip of them describing them on the ship. Here we go.
We saw something silver, and then we quickly ran to the logs, and we saw a silver thing, and we saw a man standing next to it.
What did it feel like when he was looking at you?
I felt scared.
Yeah, so she basically describes, like Jen was just saying, she sees this silver craft come down and beings hop out and
Mhm.
they scare the children. So they're scared off the jump. Like I think once they realize like,
Yeah.
oh, this is
Oh,
not
yeah.
a plane, like, and I just wonder
Yeah.
how they stood there for so long. Like 15 minutes is a long time to stand
Hmm.
and just like focus on something.
You're probably just so mesmerized, and then like, isn't there like
That is
one
true.
part where like they like start telepathy talking to him or showing
Yeah,
them like
we'll get to
images
the
and
message.
shit?
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, could you imagine?
Um,
Yeah, we sit here and say like we'd be terrified if we saw it and whatnot, but like in reality, we would all just be standing there with our mouths fucking open, just like, what is happening?
I'm on the ship, motherfuckers.
yes.
Running right past them, glitching.
Glitching.
I'm close the door and I'm like, haha, can't get in now.
And then somehow they phase you outside and you're like,
Yeah.
God damn it.
You're going to get abducted. I
Just
know
start
it.
right back where I started. I'm like, uh, they-
He
So,
wants it too
I
bad. He
know
wants that probe too bad.
one of the, he does. He does, and I'm afraid he's gonna get it. And so
I'm
I
just gonna
know I
leave that
like
on
the
the
way
table.
one of the children in an adult interview, as an adult, she said she described that as almost like she would blink and like it would be there, blink, it was gone, but then as fast as she would blink again, it had like reappeared, but not in the same spot. And I'm like, you
I
can't
don't
be
like that.
jumping
I don't like that at all. That's
around,
terrifying.
glitching time or whatever.
Mm-mm.
That's not on your first meeting. That's my point. That's tricks you
That's
can
not
show
fair.
me
You
later
can't
once we
glitch
know
time on
each
the
other
first
a little
date.
bit. It's too much. No, you can't. It's a bit
What if
obscene.
they
So
weren't actually there?
anyway, oh gosh, don't get too deep. I get
Just like a
confused.
image, static image.
Oh,
Because you're an
that's a
interdimensional
thought.
being projecting your existence onto another reality. Yeah, that's
Yeah, you got some interference.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
David Grush.
Yeah. So, as we could imagine, one little girl describes the stare as intensely unsettling. It looked evil because it was just staring at me as if it wanted to come and take us. Other kids sensed something more menacing, which that's pretty menacing, or at least powerful in that gaze. But the beings never spoke a word. at least not out loud. So we're going to get the classic telepathic conversation going. Many of the children insisted that the beings did communicate with them in a different way, telepathically through their eyes. So that just makes me really like that
So it just like
intense
projected their
stare
feelings.
all the more creepy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're like mesmerized. So here's
I
another clip of the
guess,
kids
yeah.
describing how scared they were.
It was scary because you saw something yourself?
Yes, little object hovering. It was quite big actually, and then there was little ones all around it. I felt scared because I've never seen such a person like that before.
It was scary. Why? What made it scary?
The eyes looked evil.
Evil.
Yeah, because they're
Evil.
giant and big and
Evil.
black and just lifeless.
Yeah.
Just misunderstood, guys.
Yeah. That first
Mhm.
girl reminded me of that Veruca Salt girl from Willy Wonka and the
Well,
Chocolate Factory, and
Yeah.
it just sent me into a fucking tizzy.
If anyone's wondering, this is why
well,
these kids are super white. Just talk about Africa. I feel like if you're listening to this, you might be assuming that these are all a bunch of like little black kids. It's all like super white, like whitest of white. It's funny.
so through their telepathic eye messages, the kids start having thoughts and images. Why?
Their
Lee tripped me up. I
telepathic
can't help
thought
it. I
eye
couldn't speak.
messages.
That's the best I could do.
Right now.
How do you
I know.
describe being telepathically communicating with your eyes?
Like hypnotized.
Was the gray seductively looking at you?
Yeah. Well, that's why they have to have the clothes on. Otherwise, it's just too much.
That's it. It's the whole thing.
It is too
Mixed
much.
signals and all.
It's a mixed signal.
Yeah. So these kids actually end up I believe it's several months later, right? Dr. John Mack
Mhm.
comes down to interview, and he's interesting because he was a Harvard psychiatrist. I believe he was actually head of the department of
Head of
psychiatry there at
psychiatry.
Harvard. Yeah, so
Shout out.
to his
Yeah.
oh yes, yeah, Pulitzer Prize winning. So he takes a hard left turn in his colleagues' eyes, and
Yeah.
he, he wants to come and investigate this. And so, and again, his name was Dr. John Mack. So he asked a boy what message he received, and the child said pollution. Another girl, 11 years old, she perceived the message she was getting. She said, I think they want people to know that we're actually making harm on this world and we mustn't get too, I think she said, technologized or something like that.
Yeah, she can.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I tend to agree with her wholeheartedly. Or I guess I agree with the beings wholeheartedly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because, if they thought that back then, I'd hate for them to see 2025. So she felt the beings were cautioning that humans were becoming too technologically advanced and environmentally careless for our own good. And they were not wrong.
So here's the kid talking about that.
What I thought was maybe the world's gonna end. Maybe they're telling us the world's gonna end.
Why do you think they might want us to be scared?
Because because we don't look after the planet the area properly.
Makes sense.
It's just
Mm.
the kids explaining it.
Mhm.
And like we touched upon at the top, they are fumbling for words to describe like concepts that are bigger than their little lives. Like
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
have no idea of like global conservation other than like there's probably some like poster in their classroom about recycling. Like they're
Right.
not like economically tapped into the world and know about global warming yet. Like
Mm-mm. They're worried about
Yeah.
like
We
little kid
weren't 80.
problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
in
And we definitely, I
1994
don't know
we were
about now, but
not.
we were not learning that. No.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
No, not even
Not
close.
at all. We are at the point where, like you said, the psychologist is interviewing every kid individually, and they're giving similar but different testimonies, which he even talks about gives it like more validity because he says that their recounts are coming from like a place of emotion.
Mm.
Like you can't like get these passionate descriptions if you haven't like had an emotional reaction to this memory.
So, kind of back to yeah, Dr. Mack, what he when he, with him interviewing the kids and his perception to it, which again he was made out to be like a laughing stock, despite his credentials and, typically being a very well respected man. But to be completely fair, he was always open minded to UFO experiences. So he himself had never, discounted them. I think it also bears, I think he was a conservationist as well. So that's where some of the skeptics are going to come in and say, well,
Mhm.
he had an agenda to somehow, do leading questions or something like that to get, the kids to say these things. But I mean, what do you guys think about that?
I thought, I didn't think he was like leading the kids or anything in any type of way of anything that I saw. And he has like credentials out the ass. So like if
Mhm.
he didn't think that like this was a real thing, he wouldn't have put his like his career, his lifelong goals and all the things that he's
Yeah.
done on the line just for this.
That was my take too. And then yeah.
He's interesting because I've seen him on like talk shows, and like that's almost like his theme is like people are getting stigmatized for this thing that like
Mhm.
I'm getting through my patients as like a real account. Like I'm a doctor. People are coming to my office paying me to tell me about these like
Mhm.
experiences and they're believable. So
Mhm.
as a doctor, am I supposed to just laugh at them and just call them crazy? Like, so he's saying,
Right.
he's like, it has to be taken seriously. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not saying that we need to go out there and be like UFO nuts and everyone needs to be camped out looking at the sky, but he's saying they need to like have scientific methods and researchers and people dedicated
Mhm.
to this phenomena.
Mhm.
Right. And I think, it bears, but he's months, down the line coming in and doing this. But, well before that, the adults and the kids' lives, had started to kind of take notice too, because a group of parents, like I said, is going to know that this many kids can't hold on to something that long for fun or for
Mhm.
whatever reason that they would have to create this big story, there's no way. Then more about some skeptic stuff. Oh, well, other theories, skeptic theories. People mentioned that, students had heard about UFOs on the radio. Some people have even said, through, media and TV, that kind of thing. But, it's like one of the children in her adult interview describes, she says, this is a farming community. She was like, there were many people that did not even have, TVs, that kind of thing. She said we were not
Mhm.
like inundated with, UFO stuff and,
No.
obsessed with that. So, yeah. So that's kind of another, but just to, lay out.
Oh, it's not like it was here in America, like, during that time where we had, like, the space race and, like, everybody had flying saucer fever, and it was all in pop culture and stuff, but, like, over there, yeah, like you said, it was a farming community, so, like, they didn't really
Mhm.
have that kind of, like, pop culture reference and stuff like that. And TVs,
Good
yeah, they
Good point, because right before this, a couple days
Yeah.
before this, there was a Soviet spacecraft. I don't remember if it was a satellite or a shuttle, but it broke up and it re-entered into the atmosphere over this area of Africa. And because of the ruralness of this area, like spark speculation. So there's
Mhm.
people that think that
Mm.
because that happened, the kids heard about it and then they wanted to do like, tell a story about it. Again, I just don't think you're going to get 60 kids for 30 years, all
To
committed
stick
to the
to it.
same lie. Yeah.
The longest con.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking to that, they, in 2023, the Netflix documentary series Encounters, one of the former Ariel students claimed that he actually made the entire story up as a prank. He was identified as Dallin,
This kid,
Dallyn.
man.
I don't know.
I
And
I don't know.
Dylon.
I don't know if he's like just got a set on him and like just wants controversy, but like like this, like that long, like you waited 30 years to say like it was a prank,
Yeah.
and you're the only one that can say that.
Yeah, I don't think it was a prank. I just think he wanted
Well,
like some
I feel
controversial
like,
clout.
yeah, I feel like he's one of those that like gets on the internet and from his mom's basement and makes fun of people that live in their mom's basement. I feel like he's one of those trolls. I don't know. That was just my take.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dylan, if you're listening
Or
or watching, but that's the vibe you gave. That's the vibe.
Here, a little redemption, maybe. Maybe if it's not such like a outwardly like, attention grabbing thing, maybe it's just his coping. Maybe like he told himself for 30 years, I couldn't have seen this. I made it up. It had to have been something I made up.
It was
I
him
couldn't.
rationalizing it.
Or a parent or someone told him
Mhm.
that, oh, you made it up. Why'd you go make that up? Now look what you did.
Yeah,
And
now you
he
got all the
internalized
kids
that.
believing this grandiose story of yours.
Man, 'cause you never know.
So would you get on Netflix
Gaslighting.
and do that? He's in the basement.
But if
It's
he really
fine.
believed it,
So,
He's in the basement. It's fine. Ma, the meatloaf.
they've been waiting for 30 minutes.
How much
Uh,
longer?
he explains that he and a friend were bored. They wanted to avoid class. They built up a scheme, point at a distant spot. Vincent just yeeted himself off the shelf cliff behind me. Let's see. That'll cause you to lose your place. Oh, what was he doing?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
he
was claiming
pretends
that
it's a
him and a friend made the
spaceship,
whole thing up.
convinces, yeah. But with the classic, there's an alien. I mean, what kind of
Mhm.
80s kids were
Look,
Look, a
these? Like, seriously,
distraction.
because they're like our age now. So they're 80s kids. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. I mean, again, you're
No, these
not
kids were
gonna
left out with the
convince.
hyenas and
Like,
stuff. Oh, look, there's an alien. And everybody, like, believes it
Yeah.
and goes along for 30
you're not gonna
years.
convince
I'm
that many
sorry.
kids.
Mm-mm.
There's no
I
way
know.
you're gonna like every
I
kid just be like,
just,
yeah, I'm gonna say the same thing. I got you.
It's like, why would I do? No.
There's also
yeah.
always that one kid that like can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like can't like do the lie. Like you be like, tell the teacher like no one has their lollipops. No one has their lollipops. And then he's like, oh, we have our lollipops, miss. Oh,
I mean, we don't.
no, we don't. Like there's always that. So like there's no
Yeah.
way. This
Yeah.
was airtight for 30 years with all these kids, and
It-
then this guy, Delaney.
Exactly.
Dylon.
So yeah,
Dylon.
unless y'all want to talk more about him, I'm done and moving on from him because he irritates me
No, we're
clearly.
good.
Yeah, no, he could stay in the basement waiting for the meatloaf.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. Clicking away on the internet. But the only other thing that can happen that is a proven phenomenon is the power of suggestion and group dynamics. That is a real thing that can happen when multiple
Mhm.
people witness the same event and can have that just collective group memory kind of thing or whatever. But anyway, I don't think that applies here because they were interviewed separately and fairly quickly. And Lee, do you have anything about the woman that was well known that lived there? Her name has left my head. She interviewed them before. Harvard doctor.
Is it this woman? Hold on.
I think the aliens came because they are curious like us, and well, they want to learn about us, and we want to learn about them.
And that these made the silver lights? Yeah.
They were making different color lights, like
Yeah,
green,
like they'd
red,
flash to green, then they'd go to blue,
and then
red,
purple.
green. Yeah, purple and red. But it was going like each one to each one, but quickly.
Yeah,
Like,
like
you go, like they'll go there and then it'll vanish, and then it'll go there and vanish, and then vanish. Oh, really? They're going quickly. Like as if it was one ship moving to places.
Those little Steve Irwin looking kids. That was adorable.
Little safari
I
outfit,
know.
little bucket hat.
And their
Oh, I'm here
accents, they
for
just
it.
sound so much smarter. But
They are probably.
Yeah,
They're
probably.
already
yeah,
bilingual.
truthfully. Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much the encounter itself and a little bit of the
Yeah.
aftermath. There is like a big period of time where this kind of turns into just like UFO lore. So I
Hmm.
would say like after like 96 to like 2015, this is a story that's like kind of just talked about amongst like UFO ufologists.
Enthusiast.
Yeah.
Ufologists.
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 Modern day
Until
ufologists.
until these documentaries started coming back out and these kids started recounting their story, retelling their accounts of the story. And now there's like a million documentaries on this. There's footage of
Hmm.
these kids from when they're little, when they're old. There's footage of like a bunch of them together. You can listen to them all talk about it together, older. And then there's another one where they interview a woman like in the field, or in a field.
Yeah.
And she talks about like how close she was to them. And like, it's almost like 2 arm lengths what she says
Hmm.
she's
Pretty
away from
close.
those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So another encounter, so much documentation. Skeptics have their points. There are a lot of points, like there was debris in the air that was unidentified to a lot of the people. There's this kid that says he made this shit up. I don't know about that.
I don't fucking believe him for a second.
No.
There is truth to like mass hysteria and stuff like that, like the
Hmm.
laughing deaths or whatever those things were. Like there's like
Oh, yeah.
accounts of whole towns like laughing themselves to death or dancing themselves to death.
Dancing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be
So
a terrible way to die.
yeah. Oh yeah. That's
That would be so exhausting.
it's one of those phenomena that is so hard to even wrap your head around because you're just like, I
It
wouldn't
is.
dance. Like I would just not do
Right.
it. Why are they doing it?
But then
I
all of a
don't
sudden you're
dance.
dancing.
Yeah.
I
You're
feel
dancing and you
pretty
can't stop.
Oops.
also just like I can't stop. Oh shit. I'm gonna die.
All the
I
show
am
tunes
forever
running
doing the
through your
Cotton Eye
head.
Joe.
That'd be horrible.
God, that would be exhausting. Yeah.
See?
That'd be terrible.
I guess stand corrected. That's fine.
Please make this stop.
So, I mean, what did you think all in all, Jen? Like coming into this, like this is a big case for someone that's not familiar with this stuff.
Well, I look at this. So the location, where this happened, there. So the U.S. to make it far less just because of what we're like here.
Tabloid
So the
sensationalist. Yeah, I get it.
yeah,
You mean
so
Bat
and
Kid?
just access to access to even then, just the media stuff, just consuming a lot of the music, television, and different things. MTV for the younger
That
people
damn
when they
Emmy.
actually played music.
That damn MTV.
Yeah, that was yeah. So so there's I don't know. So the location is a big one for me. The sheer number of children is huge, and that for 30 years they have managed to stick to their same individual version of events that collectively all make sense. They're still the same event, so they veer off in the expected way that you would have as an individual. They describe classic things, the doing the telepathy, and even at one point one girl describes that she felt like she was being held in place, like she really couldn't move.
Yeah.
And that's another classic. How would these kids know? Like, these kids are not reading, they're not scouring the 1994 interwebs, looking for these
Mhm.
accounts and checking them out at the, Zimbabwe library. They're just not, And so
No.
I don't know how they would know about these methods of alien communication, So
Yeah,
that
that's
is a
true too.
big,
Yeah.
yeah, that's in a big plus column for me. And then and not saying, but let's all be real, there can be some real wackadoos, that get interviewed that are describing sightings and different things. I mean, that's a thing in anything, but 30 years later,
Mhm.
you're interviewing them. They're, they're living in different countries now. They're, they've got careers. They're, whatever, and they
Hmm.
still believe in what they saw. They're not changing it, and they're still not trying to. There's been no fame, fortune, or anything like that. And that was another thing. As kids,
No.
what was the motive? The only motive for kids
Mhm.
could have been just a funny prank, hoax thing, but when you're a kid, you cannot pull it off that long. You don't care to. It gets boring, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
after a
Yeah.
very short
The
period of
long
Also,
time,
con stops being fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting
Yeah,
that
playing
as
the
they get
long game on
older,
this, what would be the point,
the way they
anyway?
like describe their
Mm-mm. Yeah, what do you get out of it?
Yeah,
Nothing.
right. I mean, their
the
description of the beings, I mean, just everything to me was plus, plus, plus columns. I really didn't have, I mean, I didn't have too much or anything that I can really think of that just made me think, absolutely not. Did not happen.
yeah. This is a very, very hard one to just like be a firm skeptic. You have to acknowledge the fact, like
Yeah,
as we
I
were
think
just talking
so.
about. Yeah.
Mhm.
So again, there was a guy named Randall Nickerson who for like 15 years went around and like scouted out all the kids. And like he got to interview like 40 plus of them. Like after like 15
Mhm.
years, like that's and they all still
Yeah, it's pretty good.
except that one dude was like, yeah,
Yeah, we
that's
saw what we saw.
that's another case, man.
I think he was in the
I love this
bathroom
case
and
though.
missed the whole thing and was pissed.
And so he's
That's what I
just
think
all
happened to
sour
him.
about
Bunch
it.
of
Solved,
liars. Ah, you guys are
solved,
lying.
figured you out,
That's it.
buddy.
Yep.
He was in the
Yep.
bathroom.
Right. That was the Ariel school incident phenomenon. You hear like 1,000 different names for this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, really hard to deny that something happened, even if it's just like a mass hysteria event. It's interesting.
It would be very, very interesting one,
I want
but
to know does
I
Evan
don't
have
know.
any thoughts on
It gets
this?
my stamp of approval. I
So I
believe.
don't.
Jin believes.
I do not know
I
how much
believe.
Evan knows about this case. I'd be interested to see what he said. He's a big believer in like mass hysteria over things like this, so
Mhm. So he
he
would
would
probably
probably
like
go there.
camp in there.
Well, I don't want
Yeah.
him to talk about it because
Because Jin believes.
Jen's already
yeah,
firm
because I
believer.
believe, and
Well,
I don't want
Evan
him
will be here.
ruining my.
No, that's the beautiful thing about like my relationship with him. Like he knows how crazy I am. He's not gonna try. He's not gonna try to change my mind. He just tries to illuminate things that I'm like, that's not how that works, but that's okay.
That's not how that works. Tries
No,
to provoke you.
he will be on our next episode for Rendlesham.
That's such a good
Another
case too.
another case with so much documentation.
Mm-hmm.
It's all aliens,
Every
all
time Evan
April.
says something, I'm gonna be like,
Yeah, he got mad at me. Let's do that. Please do that. Oh my God, do that.
okay, I will. I'll hide it.
When we
I'll
had
lay it
our
aside so
podcast,
I can just bring it out.
when we had our podcast, I got that poster for like the background. And of course, he had like some smart ass comment about it. Good.
I can't wait.
Rendlesham
Oh,
would be
God.
good. I
Oh
think
my
that's
God.
it
I might like
for
wrap my mic
Alien
stand
April.
with like 10 full So he really thinks I'm a nut.
It's all right. He already thinks we're crazy. He thinks I'm crazy for even talking about
Okay.
99.9%. If it's not Rendlesham, it's crazy. Like, we should really, like, not for a whole episode because it would be disastrous, but maybe for like a
Yeah.
little bit, just have him on when we do like ancient, like, yeah, like the Puka Puntu and Puka Kanta, whatever the places are,
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
because he hates that.
Ancient alien astronaut theorists believe.
Oh, he hates
It will
he hates
never
the
get
fact
old.
no, he hates the fact that we're
Never.
taking away the credit from humans.
Mm,
Okay.
Oh,
We
we're
ain't
not
that
that
smart.
smart, but okay.
no, that's
Mhm.
cool. They just found that all that crazy shit underneath the pyramids, but whatever.
I know.
Yeah.
We gotta talk about that.
Mm.
That's crazy.
We didn't even talk about that. Yeah, it's been
I'm telling you, man, the
legendary.
pyramids were like a power plant.
I got theories. I may know.
Mhm.
Again, I'm gonna have to go back to the law of one and Ra.
There you go.
Now I'm just a cult leader. I'm just pushing it on people.
I'm just pushing my ideals on people.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Like I said, next up, Rendlesham. I think that wraps up all aliens, all April. May. I don't know if we really have a full schedule planned out for May. I know we got a few things coming up that I'm excited to get
I'm
into.
super hyped.
Back into the
Mhm.
super high strangeness and weird paranormal type shit.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Holy,
we're gonna ease you away from the alien subject, but it's not gonna
yeah.
be a hard
Right.
abrupt left.
No, they'll make an appearance.
Yeah.
They stop by.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. Thank you for subscribing, liking, following, all those things. If you haven't, do it now. Stop now.
Stop what you're
No.
doing right now. Do it.
Right now.
Do it.
Now. Okay, thank you.
If you didn't do it, right now.
If you want to be a guest or you have something to share with us, you can.
Email us at SSOSpodcast@gmail.com.
All right, guys. Until the next one. Bye.
Keep it strange.
Peace out, Earthlings.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to join us as a guest, suggest a topic, or have a story you want us to share, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at SSOSpodcast@gmail.com. For more behind-the-scenes updates and exclusive insights about SSOS, make sure to follow us on social media. And don't miss out on the fun. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, thank you for listening to the Secret Society of Strangers podcast. This show is an independent production, researched and crafted by our passionate team. But we couldn't do it without all of you. We truly appreciate your support. Embrace the unknown, for not all secrets are meant to be kept. Farewell, strangers.